Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 25 of Jack Out of the Box. This week again, I'll be going over what I've been up to. This week was a bit easier than last week. With uni coming up to an end. Yeah, just had revision lectures and stuff this week, and that was it basically. So I'll start off last Friday, the day after I recorded last episode. Um, so this was the day my last assignment was due. So I went through my bit in the morning just to make sure everything was good. That spelling mistakes and grammar and just the flow of my section fit with most of the other stuff that was in it that other people had written, just to ensure that it's cohesive when you read it. You don't get to a different part and it is written differently to how all the rest of it is. So then we had a meeting organised for I think 6:30. I just hung out and played games and chilled out for the rest of the day till then. So then we just added in the extra bits that people hadn't added. And then we went through it all and made sure it all was cohesive and flowed right, and the grammar and spelling was consistent. The format and the layout was what was asked. And then what else did we do? That was it. We saved it as a PDF and handed it in. So that was good. That was 4 or 5 hours earlier than it needed to be, which was nice. And made the weekend pretty easy. I literally had the whole weekend and I didn't have to do anything. So that was it. Then Saturday, after handing that assignment in, I decided I didn't need to do anything, and I spent probably too many hours that day playing games. We went out for lunch, went for a walk down to the bowling club, so that was good. We got out of the house for a bit. Then Sunday I was even less productive. I don't even think I went outside at all because I didn't have anything to do. And a couple of my mates were available, so we hung out together and played games online pretty much all day. And then Monday, as I said before, it's the last week of semester, so no labs or tutorials for me anyway. Just revision and revision lectures. That's pretty much all. So in the morning I worked on some coding questions to get ready for my web development exam, which is not my first exam, I think my second one. But that should be good. So then I'd planned next week I'll split up my days. I'll do web development revision Monday, then probably Wednesday and Friday, split up the other ones. I haven't decided what days yet, but that'll come when it comes. So then went to my lecture, where we just basically went back over, not in depth, but just briefly over everything we'd done so far this semester, and what parts of it we need to revise for the exam. Then I came home, played some games, had a few mates over for dinner, and then we played some poker, which was pretty good. Then Tuesday came, I had my e-business lecture, where there we had a past student come and do a presentation about what she's done since graduating uni. Uh, yeah, then wrote my weekly thing for the podcast. And then just chilled out and did my own thing for the afternoon. Then yesterday, I wrote the music part for this podcast once I eventually stopped procrastinating. Yeah, which was fun. Swimming, the album of Max I did this week is I said last week the Divine Feminine's my favorite. This one's a very close second. Probably even equal first. There's just so many good songs. So yeah, that was good to write that for this one. Then I had planned on doing some revision, but yeah, I decided I didn't need to because I have basically 2 weeks till my first exam, so I'm not in much of a rush. Then it was the last week of trivia. We didn't stick around to see what we came. We sort of went with the hope that we might have got the overall winner for the whole semester, but that was a tie between the 2 other teams that are there all the time. So we didn't get that, but we thought we would probably be pretty damn close. And then at trivia, it was Gus, my best mate's birthday, so we had a bit of a birthday cake down there, and everyone sung happy birthday, and that was cool. And then today, I had my last management information systems lecture, where, like all the other lectures, we just went back over the stuff that we should revise for the exam, and the layout and what he expects us to write for each different part, sort of how much. And that was pretty much it. Then the CSIT trade show was on, which is where all the computer science and IT students present their final year projects. A couple of my mates were are graduating very shortly, and they've done their project this year. So I sort of went down to give them good luck and check out all the other crews that had developed their programming programming projects, I'm going to say, which is something I'm doing next year. I'm kind of sort of looking forward to it. I think my move to IT has probably encouraged me to be excited about that. I know when it was something I had enrolled in at the start of this year because I had reached the prerequisites to complete it this year, but once I had a couple meetings with my potential team, and I sort of went, this is a bit out of my league. I don't have the coding know-how for this as of right now. I'd missed out on quite a few classes that would have been very helpful. And then I was like, I've just transferred to IT. I'm virtually a second year. So I just was completely honest with the guys in my team, and I was like, I feel like you guys will be better off finding someone else who can actually fill the gap you guys are looking for, because as much as I would have enjoyed to do it then, I definitely wasn't at the level of, in that case, I would have been doing the programming side of things rather than the project management stuff. So throughout this year, since transferring to IT, I've got my bearings around the project management stuff a bit more, and I probably feel like if there's the potential to do a website, I feel like I'm maybe able to provide quite a bit more programming know-how than I would have 12 months ago had I done the project this year. So yeah, I've got a really good group for next year, and I'm keen to get started when the time comes. And then after the trade show, I had a doctor's appointment where I am pretty sure I just went and got referrals for everything I already had referrals to at home but had forgot. So, and I had a thing to get checked out anyway, so it wasn't completely pointless, but it almost was. Yeah, and then that was about 5 o'clock. I got home, and now I'm recording episode 25, which is a bit of a milestone, I guess. That's, yeah, basically I think I'm going to do a season as a year, so 52 eps. So yeah, we're almost at halfway, which is pretty cool. And just 25 overall. Yeah, so moving on to my music for this week. This week is Mac Miller's penultimate album, Swimming. It's also his fifth and the last released before he passed away. Yeah, this album's basically a huge metaphor, with that being swimming, inspired by his breakup with Ariana Grande, and then following that, he was arrested for a DUI, hit and run sort of thing, in 2018. Yeah, so basically, rather than drowning in his struggles and a broken heart, Mac's attempting to swim to shore. Through the whole album, Mac explores the conflict between his struggles and a newfound sense of optimism and positivity. Yeah, swimming is basically Mac's experiences since the release of The Divine Feminine, as he tries to move forward in his life. So, yeah, we'll get started. I'll open Spotify just so I have it, so I know the track list. Give me 1 second. There it is. Yeah, so the first track is Come Back to Earth. This is a really, really good intro to an album. In my eyes, it provides a pretty decent foundation to begin the whole album. It, yeah, basically introduces all the recurring motifs within swimming, those being self-care, self-acceptance, and personal liberation, which is brought to us with the swimming metaphor. And yeah, Mac also demonstrates the conflict between his newfound optimism and his past challenges. I just need a way out of my head. I'll do anything for a way out of my head. Yeah, in this part, Mac talks on how his depression had put stress on his everyday life, ultimately becoming almost too much for him to bear. He'd do anything to escape it and get away from himself. And I was drowning, but now I'm swimming through stressful water to relief. This is the first acknowledgement of the swimming metaphor. Mac's at balance, and yeah, swimming allows him to be perfectly between drowning and flying. He was drowning in his problems, but now he's learning to cope by swimming. In an interview, Mac had spoke about not wanting to be happy all the time, but not depressed all the time either. Yeah, so by swimming, he's essentially appreciating just being in the middle of, yeah, time being good and time being bad, but not all one or the other. Don't you know that sunshine don't feel right when you're inside all day? I wish it was nice out, but it looked like rain. Grey skies are drifting, not living forever. Mac opens up here about how he was always inside making music and being bored, which is essentially where his drug abuse started. He was, yeah, just why be inside when drugs could let him have a whole adventure without even moving. But yeah, can also tell us how being outside in the sun never feels right when you're always inside your head. Um, but Mac is showing a desire to go out both physically and mentally. But his depression makes the outside world a scary place. But he does acknowledge that the dark grey skies that keep him locked inside won't always be there, and one day he will be ready to step outside. And then the last line of the song, they told me it only gets better. People are always telling him that life gets better, and he hears it but feels it's not happening for him at the moment. He kind of feels like his life may have stagnated in a sad place, causing him to feel bitter towards the people or the sentiment of it only getting better. Then track 2, Hurt Feelings. Mac talks about not changing himself to better his career. Also, him telling all his doubters that he's made it. I'm always saying I won't change, but I ain't the same. Mac's life has changed quite drastically over the years. He knew that it eventually would change because of his age. As much as he always likes to say that he hasn't changed or won't ever change, deep down he knows he really has. Physically, he's grown up, but he's also gained a larger level of fame over the years. He's also expanded his musical content from sort of the frat rap phase of Kids and Blue Slide Park through to the Divine Feminine with a sort of jazz rap journey of him singing about love. And then to swimming then which sort of built upon that sort of jazz rap, and it combined sort of singing and rapping into one album basically. So then Driving with My Eyes Closed, Missing All the Signs, a double entendre. Someone who's driving with their eyes closed is missing all the traffic signs, but Max talking to his approach to life, ignoring the signs of things to come in his life. So, yeah, probably all the people trying to keep him on the straight and narrow. He kind of missed those people saying that, or maybe didn't miss them saying it, but missed the purpose of them saying it, leading to, him feeling the need for drugs to survive every day. Putting way too much on my shoulders, please hold me down. I keep my head above the water. Please hold me down, suggests Mac. Hopes for his existential dilemma will at least keep him on the ground, or that he's looking for people to hold him back from acting recklessly, putting his life in danger. Mac tries to get through his struggles, rapping, I keep my head above the water. We have Mac at balance at sea level. It's interesting that it's straight after him asking, please hold me down. That's not really what someone swimming should be asking. It's probably an indication of the constant push-pull and the rise and fall of Mac's motion throughout swimming. Turn the power off and get your water from the spring. Living in society exposes us all to consumerism, promiscuity, and toxic media, and making us comfortable because electricity and water are also easily available in society for most of us anyway. Mac encourages us to willingly distance ourselves from the world and find a better source of natural nourishment. Basically take the time to get away from the toxicity of society and just live, I reckon. Then the last line I talked about was, I've been going through it, you just go around it. but it's really not that different when you think about it. Max directly trying to face his struggles in the present, reinforcing his strong desire for personal growth. But contrasting to this, in the past, Mac would go around it, deflecting his issues. Basically, yeah, he's referring to the fact that whether you go through it or around it, you always end up in the same place. At the end of the day, what you do in life ultimately won't change what the end is. And then track number 3, What's the Use? This was teased as a follow-up to the album's first single, Self-Care, which comes up later. With guest appearances by Thundercat, Snoop Dogg, and Sid. It was premiered on Zane Lowe's world record Beats One radio show on Apple Music in July 2018. It has a really cool bass line played by Thundercat. So I think the first bit I talked about was the whole chorus. You can love it, you can leave it. They say you're nothing without it. Don't let them keep you down. What if I don't need it? There's something about it that just freaks me out. I just want another minute with it. F a little, what's the use? Never superficial, you gotta know it when it hit you. Get a little sentimental when I'm off the juice. The chorus has Mac talking about his relationship with drugs and alcohol. In an attempt to get clean, Mac finds himself craving another minute under the influence. He doesn't see the point of using substances in moderation. The F a little, what's the use? Mac feels you're either an addict, you love it, or you're sober, you leave it. Then finally Mac implies that the juice or alcohol makes him sentimental. And the lack of superficiality refers to the deeper philosophical meanings of the title and the chorus, rather than what you get for it from face value. I'm so above and beyond, you take drugs to make it up, way up where we on Space Shuttle Elon. Above and beyond, ultimately doing more than what's required. As psychedelics induce a heightened state of consciousness for whoever takes them. Max saying that you'd have to be hallucinating to be on his level, or on the other hand, you'd need a spaceship like Elon. Yeah, the time is ticking. Come take a ride, get inside. This is highly different. I'm talking fly, got a pilot with him. Can I mind my business? While you're tripping, get you something that your eyes can witness. Ooh, you're too close. I don't understand why you're doing the most. First, Max inviting us to listen to what he's saying and watch what he's doing, and compares how high, or the height he desires to get to the height of a flying plane. And then the press, paparazzi always being in his business. Max ultimately like, can I mind my business? Mac knows people are always watching him, so why not give those people a show about either the press or just the public in general being too nosy in his business. Set the bar so far above par we can parlay all day, crib long range with the yard. Max talking about golf and how reaching par can be difficult. So setting the bar above par, they can win more, potentially. And then the crib long range with the yard, potentially referring to a driving range for golf, or practicing or warming up. Look how far we came. Still they throwing dirt on my name, but it's never worried my brain. Mac acknowledges the hate he's been getting, especially when this was released since his breakup with Ariana. Many were quick to criticize the relationship, but Mac seemed comfortable with it all. Now, or following this, Mac was completely fine with people spreading rumors about him because at the end of the day, he's the one who knows how things went down. And then track number 4, Perfecto. Mac dives into his perspective on relationships, commenting on both his relationship with drugs and Ariana. Mac reflects on his sub-perfect relationships while highlighting their worth and his contentment with the negative aspects. Well, it ain't perfect, but I don't mind because it's worth it. Who really has the time at all? It ain't perfect, but I don't mind because on the surface I look so fine. But really, I'm bugging, making something out of nothing. Mac knows life isn't perfect. In his case, his drug addiction and at this stage his relationship. But he can't dig a way out of this hole because that life still feels worth it. Who really has the time at all suggests that Mac feels too wrapped up and busy with his life to go in and make any big changes in his life. Maybe he feels safe embracing the things he knows and is comfortable with, even if they're not good for him. Mac appears to be stable to people on the outside, but he's in actuality struggling with his inner thoughts, tying in with the drowning theme of the album. Often I'm on the fence, on a line, adding up what's on my mind. My feet on the clouds, head on the ground. That we going down, bet you know me now. A clever reference of 2 drugs here, cocaine and Adderall, with a line being cocaine and adding up, wrapped to sound like Adderall. Max stating that although he's high on drugs, it's not enough to take him out of his mind. His thoughts still run amok with sadness. His mind keeps him grounded while he's in a depressed state. Just ultimately describing how his life's spiraling downwards, and it wasn't until he reached this point that people started to notice and reach out to him. Been stuck on album time. I got to get out to shine, fly on the wall. Shit, I was bugging. In the time leading up to releasing any album, Mac always would just lock himself in the studio and get to work perfecting it. Generally, or during the production of Swimming, he was known to stay up working on through the night. And he slept in his studio for 2 months straight. Bare feet, running late, her car started, even though the only thing she's driving is a hard bargain. Mac is barefoot in the album cover, showing us his dirty feet. In many of Mac's albums, vehicles have represented him being on drugs. So since in this album he's more sober, his feet are all dirty since instead of driving around, he's walking around. Mac's saying that he's tired and that is tempting him to get in the car, but he knows that there's no negotiating with the consequences that come with that. Then track number 5. This is probably the maybe not the climax, but it's probably the most iconic song on this album. When you see the album cover, generally people will go, self-care. This is basically Mac spreading a message about overcoming the hardships, gaining self-control and being aware of how to handle yourself. In the music video that came along with this, it's definitely worth a watch. Mac is buried in a casket to symbolize how the media tried to kill his character. In here, Mac lights a cigarette despite having no source of oxygen, displaying that he's confident he will overcome his obstacles and make it out. With a knife, he carves Memento Mori into the lid, which translates, remember that you have to die, and then punching through that to save himself. A symbol showing that he's refusing to die anytime soon. Self-care has two parts, self-care and oblivion. In the self-care part, Mac's learning to look after himself properly. And in oblivion is essentially him being oblivious, not being aware of what's happening around him, and also feeling like he's been forgotten by the public. Yep. Well, climbing over that wall may represent an emotional barrier that he's put up that he's finally getting over, or could just be some obstacle he had to overcome in his life. Swear the height be too tall, so like September I fall. September's one of the months that make up for. But Mac manages to emphasize the ending, causing it to sound like September, like loggers when they cut trees, they're gonna yell timber, which is also like the fall of a tree. Self-care, I'm treating me right, yeah, hell yeah, we're gonna be alright. Mac attempting to accept his issues and acknowledge that taking care of yourself is necessary in order to keep your life fruitful. That Mercedes drove me crazy. I was speeding. Fans thought initially here this was about his DUI arrest, but Mac had later clarified that he wrote this song before that even happened. So yeah, I think the fact that he could buy a G-Wagon, that's what drove him crazy. He was speeding through his life, ultimately because he could afford anything he wanted. And you could find me, I ain't hiding. Following the public release of him and Ariana breaking up and his arrest, Mac kind of went on hiatus briefly. He deleted every post on his Instagram account. Mac recognizes that he did seem to shut himself off here while trying to address these problems. But he reminds us that he was still around despite what he was going through then. Then the second part, Oblivion starts, got stuck in Oblivion. Mac gradually had become less popular in the rap game over the years after the Divine Feminine, apart from his relationship with Ariana. It seems like Oblivion's used in the second half of this verse to signify Mac believes that he's being forgotten about by the public, but he's finding peace within this feeling. And then the last bit, the sun set quickly, then get up slow. Yeah. Mac states that he feels the sun does set quickly and rise slowly, mirroring his feelings of waking up and getting to bed. That he'd dread waking up in the morning and get out of bed really slowly, but as soon as he felt tired, he'd go back to bed. And then the Oblivion chorus finishes us off right to the end. Then track number 6, Wings. Mac finally admits that his emotional wounds from the DUI and the breakup have almost completely healed. He's moved on from the darkest parts of his life and hopes the future will only be better for him. Wonder who the F we're supposed to be. I ain't worried now until I leave. Suggests that Mac doesn't know himself or who he really is or even who he wants to be. But he's not worried about that now till he's gone. And still ain't adding up. I'll let you know when I've had enough. Mac, he's basically talking, he's been running through his thoughts and he has way too many to even count. And it doesn't add up. They don't make sense to him. But he will let us know when he doesn't like it anymore. Then I'd put some money on Forever, but I don't like to gamble on the weather. Mac emphasizes the stability of Forever, but also then emphasizes the unpredictability of the daily events like the weather. He trusts that tomorrow will come, but he never gets hung up now on what he wants or expects to happen tomorrow. The sun is shining. I can look at the horizon. The walls keep getting wider. I just hope I never find them. A metaphor for just getting through things here. I think Mac's saying that he's reached that light. He's getting over his wounds. The imagery Mac sets us to is emotional claustrophobia. His ever-growing feeling of self-isolation that appears right in his face is something he's so scared of that regardless of what he does, he can't avoid it. He can't avoid the feeling of loneliness and dejection. And then growing up, 1, 2, 3, jump. Nobody holding my hand, no. Mac references the courage-building method of counting to 3 before you take a leap of faith, occurring quite a bit when you're a kid, jumping from off something high. Generally, you'd probably have someone there to hold your hand, to guide you off. But yeah, Mac alludes to how he grew up on his own, taking his jumps without anyone holding his hand or guiding him. Trust in it is a problem. Never know how. Yeah, that's just why I keep to myself. Repeating the theme of solitude, and how Mac can only, or feels he can only solve his problems himself. All I ever want is what I need, and that don't include your time and company. Yeah, Mac's saying he's on his way up and progressing. And he doesn't need you if you're just around to hold him up or drag him down. He's keen to do it on his own. These are my wings. These are my wings. Yeah, these are my wings. Solidifying the imagery of the wings for the last time. Mac reminds us that he's been talking about, or what he's been talking about here, that through all his struggle and his pain, he's doing all right. Then track number 7, Mac uses, or track number 7, ladders. Mac uses ladders as a metaphor here for life. There's, as you go higher, the view gets more beautiful. But along with going up, it comes with the fear of heights. Not to mention, the higher you climb, the further you have to fall. But you still may need to find a way up there. Somehow we got to find a way, no matter how many miles it takes. I know it feels so good right now, but when it all comes falling down, when the night meet the light, turn to day. Mac feels trapped with maybe the idea of an ex-girlfriend that stays with him. He feels stuck. So as he finds himself later in the album, he does realize that he has to find a way, no matter how long he's got to search for it. adds to the ladders being a metaphor of life. Life may feel good and you may be happy right now, but no one knows what's around the corner. You could fall down, you could fall off the ladder anymore. Probably a bit of a drug reference there as well. You ultimately you lose your high regardless of what you take and how much. As in reaching the high, inevitably it comes down. And you know you're dead wrong. You're in love with a lie. All I want to do is free your mind. He's saying that whatever you or whoever you is in this bar, whatever their struggle is, addiction, whatever, you ultimately own up, take responsibility of it. You're responsible for your actions in most cases. It all just starts with us admitting to ourselves that we're in the wrong. It's not someone else that did this. All the lights flickering, hitting the right switches. I'm just living this life different and missing the flight bullshitting. A double entendre for someone slowly fading away, flickering out. He's changed the way he's living with these new thoughts, delaying the inevitable flight. Maybe we inside the maze. Somehow we got to find a way. Okay. Mac here ultimately saying that he feels trapped inside his head in a maze, and somehow he and his listeners have to find a way out of their addictions and struggles. Then track number 8, Small Worlds. In this song, Mac discusses his flaws, showing us that he's aware of the issues he's caused following this problematic month of his life. Small Worlds was released on the 30th of May 2018 along with a duo of other singles, Buttons and Programs, which was basically Mac breaking his silence in the wake of his public breakup with Ariana and then his following DUI crash. The world is small. The world is so small till it ain't. Alludes to the idea that it feels like a small world when you're running into people you know more often than not. Whereas if it's not small, then you hardly run into any familiar people. Also may refer to how one moment a person can feel surrounded by people they love and care about, but then at the next moment they can feel completely and utterly alone. You never told me being rich was so lonely. Nobody know me, oh well. Hard to complain from this 5-star hotel. Mac lamenting the loneliness of success. I'm always in a rush. I've been thinking too much. Thinking and being in his head have often been subjects in Small Worlds. His battle with his thoughts and thinking way too much. No need for shame. I get more peace at slow speeds. Mac doesn't care if people judge him for taking his time. He operates on his own schedule. Don't want to grow old, so I smoke just in case. In an article by Complex in 2013, they list off 25 different facts about Mac. 2 of which being that he'd smoked a cigarette for the first time in 3rd grade, and this one's probably less of a fact. People didn't know he was a chain smoker. Mac had been smoking for ages. He knew that his life was at a greater risk of being lost because of drugs rather than what came with smoking. He's both basically saying he smokes just in case nothing else takes his life. I'm tired. I don't got a spare second. This line in the outro, Mac is comparing himself to a car without a flat tire, which is how Mac feels. He doesn't have a spare second of his own time. Then track number 9, Conversations Part 1. Mac finds himself dropping braggadocious knowledge on us by reminding everyone he's on another plane of existence. He sounds mature and assured of his success and the lessons he's learned, making this vibe of a conversation a perfect song. We ain't on the same shit, no way. You ain't from my planet, we don't speak the same language. Having a conversation with someone that doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. He's from a different planet. He's implying he's on another level of thinking to the person he's talking to. Whoever he's talking to has a shallow worldview, and that ultimately hinders them from having a deep conversation together. Started in the basement, made it way above the top, now I'm in a spaceship. Mac started out in high school with nothing to his name, then gaining fame and becoming a pretty big star. Although his spaceship probably reflects his popularity and fame, it could also reflect his drug use and how a spaceship is high. So was Mac most of the time. In that industry, it's easy to become addicted as there's a lot of drug influence surrounding stars. And as his fame increased, so does his addiction, and having fame leads to money, leads to you being able to buy a lot more than you need. Ultimately, his money, his fame was sourcing his addiction, basically. Swear your life is so basic. All you do is sit around the house getting faded. Here Max switches up and now he's having a conversation with himself. How he's struggled with addiction for years and he wishes he was different. Said it's your money if you make it, otherwise it's just a conversation. People often talk about what they want to do and their ideas of anything really, but may not take action. Mac understands it here. You can talk all you want, but the conversation ultimately stands for nothing if you don't take any action. All my homies with me, getting busy, no vacations. Mac generally would spend all day with his homies in the studio working. Without a second to waste on going on vacation or having fun, I guess. Not that he wasn't having fun making music, but going to do something that isn't making music, that isn't essentially his job. Stop it, boy, you're running out through your savings. The mainly drugs Mac was abusing are expensive or were expensive. Telling himself to stop spending his savings on bad habits. My head up in the clouds, but my feet on the pavement. In this song, even though Mac isn't clean, he's got a better handle on it. He's feeling good even when he's sober and grounded. Then track number 10, Dunno. Seems like this song is dedicated to Ariana. He reminisces about the times he was carefree whenever she was around and talks about some experiences they shared. In this song he's very expressive and direct, whereas in some of the other ones he's a bit more cryptic. You were coughing when you hit my weed, but I never seen you feel that free. So cute you want to be like me. Wouldn't you rather get along? Seems to suggest Mac and Ariana smoked maybe one time together. He saw how that made her feel. As we learnt from some of Ariana's music, she anxiety was a big struggle for her, and yeah, Mac felt he was a calming force for her. Reference to his muse, most likely Ariana here, trying to get into Mac's interests and more importantly his drug use. He asked whether she'd rather move on and be friendly again, to not argue anymore. Let's get lost inside the cloud, and you don't got to work harder. I can calm you down. It could possibly be Mac nodding to Ariana's obsession with clouds. It ties into the theme presented throughout the whole song, where Mac wishes just to live in this moment together, despite knowing that the relationship may be going backwards and coming to an end. When the shit get weird, we could switch up gears. They can switch up gears and try to make things better as a team. The using the word we also hints that it's only their business and not anyone else's. All right. Then track number 11. We're getting towards the end, nearly done. Jet fuel. In this song, Mac uses jet fuel as a metaphor for the drugs and alcohol he uses to deal with his problems. Ultimately, drugs and alcohol get a person high, similar to how a jet's fuel is used to get high in a plane. Mac's essentially saying he's constantly buzzed with his head in the clouds because he never runs out of the substances to abuse. Yeah, used to want to be a superhero, flying around with a cape catching bad guys. His fame and fortune brought him close to the sun like Icarus. He fell into a sea, but his sea was depression and drug abuse. Young mother effer with a mad mind, made a couple millions off of rap lines. Young Mac is probably 26 when he's writing this at the most. And he'd made, before he passed, his net worth was $9 million. So yeah, he had made a couple million. You don't need to know how I go because I want what you want. Mac doesn't like the fact that there's people trying to be the new Mac. He doesn't want to give away his secrets. That's what makes him him. So, yeah, why should he? Backflip off the rope, skyhook when I'm in the post. A finishing move in wrestling, a fatality. They've put you down long enough to climb. You've put them down long enough for you to climb the rope. And now you're going to get knocked out in a spectacular way. And then the skyhook being one of the most unguardable shots in basketball. Mac makes this comparison to, say his rap skills are untouchable. Liquor still in my cup, get faded when I wake up, because everything is too much. So what? Even at the start of the day, Mac could fall into drugs and alcohol to deal with his demons and the problems he has. And then in the end, so what? Ultimately said in the tone that why should anyone have a problem with that? It's his way of dealing with it. Well, I'm going to be here for a while, longer than I did expect to. I was out of town getting lost till I was rescued. Now I'm in the clouds, come down when I run out of jet fuel, but I never run out of jet fuel. Mac saying that he may have expected to die by now. He has been known to predict his death. Mac was speeding with a blindfold, but people who love him won't want to see him crash. They don't want to see him OD. Mac's jet fuel are the drugs he consistently consumes to stay high. Mac indicates that he has the ability to remain at a high altitude. He said in many interviews, because of his money, his source of drugs was ultimately never ending. Throwing up shots like I don't miss refers to taking alcohol shots, but also basketball. Referring back to the earlier basketball references, as Mac keeps making shots and he never seems to miss. I don't need nobody. I don't need to be nobody. Mac repeats the same line twice. It's him trying to convince himself what he's saying. Though he says he doesn't need anybody or doesn't need to be anything, he essentially thinks different to that. Then track number 12, 2009. Through listening through this album, I was going through trying to say definitively to you guys what my favorite song is, but this one is probably, if I could tell anyone to listen to one song by Mac, it would be 2009. Ultimately, not my favorite overall. Maybe not. I don't think I can say I have a definitive favorite for Swimming either. But yeah, I think 2009, Dunno, Small Worlds, probably Self-Care, What's the Use? Yeah, there's probably 4 or 5 that I just are my favorite on this, and yeah, I can't make a difference between them, because whenever I hear any of them, I'm like, this is my favorite. Then the next one plays, and I'm like, oh no, this one's my favorite. And yeah, I think I thought that probably 6 times listening to this album yesterday while I was writing it. So yeah, I ultimately I just think this album is so good. I can't really recommend what my favorite song is. But yeah, definitely if anyone asks what Mac Miller song do I need to listen to, I'd be like 2009 without a doubt. This is, it's ultimately a reflective journey of the year before Mac and his breakout tape, Kids, releasing. He speaks to us about the lessons he's learned and the wisdom he's gained throughout this track. It ain't 2009 no more. Yeah, I know what's behind that door. 2009 being the last year before Mac's breakout mixtape. He was unsure of what his future held back then. But yeah, 4 studio albums and 3 or 4 mixtapes later, yeah, Mac knows exactly what the rap game's all about. But then he may also be speaking on his personal struggle with drug addiction again, where back in 2009 when he was just a kid, he would regularly disregard the dangers involved with certain drugs anyway, which, yeah, makes it even worse that he knew, he was entirely aware of the dangers of ODing before he passed. And sometimes I wish I took a simpler route instead of having demons that's as big as my house. Mac explains this pretty well. It's just from an interview, I think. We actually joke all the time. We'll take a moment and we'll be like, man, life would be so much simpler if I just had a job somewhere, you know, like being at one place, then come home. Repeat that every day. And there's a moment of peacefulness when you think about it. But yeah, but I would never actually do that. I'm also very attracted to my own demons. Yeah, wait. I was yay high and muddy. A clever double entendre that captures both being young and confused with the use of drugs to cope. Yay high, small, muddy, confused. But then as well as yay high, cocaine, and muddy, which is another name for lean, which is like a concoction of cough medicine and Sprite, which sounds gross. See, me and you, we ain't that different. I struck the fuck out and then I came back swinging. Mac's the same as all of us. If people fail at something, try again. Yeah, like when Mac was judged after Blue Slide Park was released, he used that as an opportunity to explore other sounds and came back swinging. Then the last song, track 11, 13, So It Goes. Yeah, this song heavily features the phrase "so it goes," a line from a Kurt Vonnegut novel, Slaughterhouse-Five, where he uses this phrase every time a death occurs in the book. This song was also featured in Mac's last Instagram story before he passed. Yeah, like majority of this album, the song has a bouncy, melancholic feel, layered with some synths and sing-song like vocals. You could have the world in the palm of your hands, you still might drop it, and everybody want to reach inside your pockets. I tell them, red light, stop it. Shit, that give me more headaches than alcoholics. Speaking of how he could have all he wanted, but he's lost his opportunity, despite the benefits of fame and fortune. One major downside is the overwhelming presence of fake people who pretend to be have your best interests at heart, but they're only taking advantage of your wealth and success. Mac's looking for green lights and healthy passengers, not red lights and exploitive friends. He associates dealing with all these red lights with the headaches of alcoholics, those from hangovers and those from shifting back to sobriety. Please leave me to my studies. I give you no applause. My hand's been counting money, and it's hard to be the boss. The desire of Mac to stay inside is a boast about his high level of artistry, but at the same time a danger too. That's where his drug struggles ultimately came from. Following up to the previous line about drugs, Mac won't applaud anyone since he's focusing on his own craft, studying and counting money and making music. He can't be bothered to care about other people. Often with the bullshit and baby, I've been through it. Enough for the both of us. So come over later and we won't let no one close to us. We could be posted up. Mac talks about his life and perhaps his celebrity life that comes with so much bullshit and stress. But he's offering a chill, reclusive night for him and his lady, I think. 9 lives never die. There for heaven, I'm still getting high. Never mind. Mac plans on using drugs to avoid what fears are upon him. He knows the result of his past actions have come around, hence, never mind. Damn it, Cross Planets, Interstellar. Another reference to the Slaughterhouse-Five. In the book, the main character lives in an alternate reality, traveling through time and space, which has similar themes to this whole album. My God, it go on, just like a circle. I go back where I'm from. Mac describing a personal life in which he repeatedly encounters the same experiences over and over, as if he's traveling forever in a circle, from dust and back to dust. This also sets up for the sister album to this one, Circles. And then in the chorus, I just had to pause the recording. So in this chorus, So It Goes, sounds like circles if you pay attention to how he says it. Mac made this line sound like two completely different phrases at the same time. Basically by repeating the name of the final song and making it sound like circles. That's what he's linking it directly to the sister album to Swimming, Circles. According to many of Mac's close friends, his idea here was swimming in circles. Although there are times where he clearly says "so it goes" in the verse and the bridge. In the chorus, it's clearly both at the same time. Yeah, interesting that the last thing on Swimming is the phrase "so it goes," circles, basically. Yeah, leaning us directly into circles. But that will be for next week. Yeah, so that's Swimming. Definitely, I'll link it below. For you guys to go and have a listen. Yeah, it's probably Mac's most complete album. Yeah, it's a good track length, good album length, I think. A really good mix of rapping and singing. Yeah, so that's it. I think in terms of listenability, this one's probably the easiest one to listen to, I think. You can look into everything he says as much as you want if you feel the need to. Or you can just listen to the music. And yeah, regularly I do both. I probably just straight up listen to it more than I think about what I'm listening to. Because it's a really chill album. There's no hard beat or obnoxious sounds. It's just it does take a leaf out of the Divine Feminine's page of the sort of jazz rap style. And it just makes it super easy to listen to. Yeah, so I think, not sure what my plan is after recording Circles next week. The deluxe version's 14 songs. I thought I might have to split it up. But it's one more song longer than this one, and the track length is overall less. So yeah, it'll only be a one episode track album again. Then I really don't know after that. Yeah, I'll have a. Well, I mean that'll be exam week. I know last semester for exam week I took a break, but I don't really think I'm going to this time. I'll just record something and put it out just to keep up with the consistency. Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but I got my RA role again for this week, for next year, which is pretty cool. That's exciting. I think next week we've got like a morning tea meet and greet sort of thing to meet all the new people, so that'll be fun. And yeah, interesting to see who's applied and who's got the roles. And then I think I might have mentioned, I don't know, probably a month ago maybe, that I had applied for an internship. And last week was when I would get the response to that. Disappointingly, I didn't get a response to come for an interview. So, yeah, I guess I'll try again for an internship next year. Which ultimately is probably better. Yeah, because and then I get to go home for Christmas and hang out with the family and go on holidays and chill out away from Wollongong for a little while. Yeah, and then come back ready to smash out year 4 of uni. I'm quietly looking forward to it. It'll be a tough year. With some of the subjects are quite difficult. But yeah, I'm ready to smash it out. And yeah, get out there and I don't know, live life, get a job. Yeah, then that's sort of it. So what are we? The end of October, so there's probably 6 more episodes maybe. I'm not sure how I'm going to record at home because I'm not taking my setup with me. That may just be recorded on my phone and uploaded probably only to Spotify or to the podcast locations, not YouTube. Probably not going in depth at all. Maybe just letting you guys know where I'm up to. I think I've got a few books I'm going to read. I might do a bit of a sort of quick recap of what I've read every week to you guys. That might be cool. I'll probably do that while I'm away. Keep you updated with what I'm doing. What I'm enjoying at that moment, I guess. Anyway, that probably wraps up our 25th episode. Thank you guys for listening again and the continued support. Definitely seeing, I know the audience isn't huge, but I look on Anchor and every now and then it's sort of 10 to 20 listens on every episode, and then when I'm uploading on YouTube, I see they've got sort of around 10 to 15 views. It makes me want to keep it going because there are people listening to it. I'm not just recording and uploading for no reason. Anyway, this has been Jack Out of the Box, and I will get to you guys next week. Bye.